Welcome to another episode of the Throw Show. And Trevor, I've got some questions for you.
Right into it, all right?
Let's say someone walks in the door, okay, before we get into all these sweet videos. Somebody walks in the door and they want to learn how to spin. And off camera, we just had a little conversation around throwing technique and the finish, what we teach at the front of the circle. But what I want to know is, what do you do with a new kid that comes in? You know, they've never really, let's say they've thrown from a standing position, they know how to take a power throw, but they've never actually done a full throw, and they've never done a spin, and you want them, in your mind, you think they could be a spinner. What do you do?
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty common. I mean, that's usually what happens when someone comes in. I mean, there actually are often times when a spinner will come in, you know, already spinning, but anyways, usually my thought process is I want to have them come away with something tangible that they've learned and that they felt like that they've actually achieved, an improvement in their throw.
In that day.
So yeah, in that one session, like hour-long session, that they've improved and they can take something away that they know they can repeat. And so when it comes to teaching the spin, the main thing I do, I just have them step through the throw first. So bring your right foot around the left foot into the middle of the circle.
If they're a right-handed thrower.
If they're right-handed thrower, yes.
Which is 90% of the population.
Yeah, all it is the opposite if you're a left-handed thrower. There's no funky different things that left-handed throwers have to do. And then, so the right comes around the left, sets directly in the middle of the circle. Simplify it that way for beginners, directly in the middle of the circle. It's a little, maybe to the right side a little bit. And then the left rotates behind the right to the corner of the toe board. So almost right where the bolt of the toe board is, or if the bolt isn't there, your left heel is going to be almost right at the edge of the toe board on the left side. So those are where your feet get placed in the circle is probably the simplest form of the spin, and it can be repeatable. You can draw circles on it. You can show them a picture, and they can take that home and repeat it as many times as they possibly can. And I try to get them to do that, like whether it's doing drills, going out and throw on their own. But yeah, that's essentially it. Just get them to rotate their right side around the left side, and then their left side around the right side, putting their feet down at the right spot in the circle. And if they can do that over and over again, honestly, I don't think they need any other coaching other than that. And they could probably throw pretty far if they took nothing away except for that.
When do you start to cue them on like how they should be sweeping their right leg, or how they should, hold that middle position, or how many reps do you think it is?
Yeah, I mean, usually, so after that initial instruction, usually I'll touch on one or two different problems in their throw. So if it's, maybe someone sweeps their right real narrow out of their back with a real bent knee or something, and then, that's usually a primary thing I'd address. So, okay, let's get the right leg wider.
Okay.
Maybe they rip their left shoulder out of the back. Okay, let's push their weight over the left foot more. Or, maybe they're completely standing upright and falling back in the front, and then we'll hold the left arm, try and keep their weight over the right. But those three things are probably the other three main problems I would address, other than just where your feet
just with those feet
put down. But honestly, it's not complicated, and I think I see lots of times athletes and coaches trying to dive too deep into the nitty-gritty of the throw when they don't do the basics.
Yeah.
And yeah, sometimes throwers get in a funk and they don't know how to do those basics, and I think it's important to find different ways to get them to do it, and you got to be creative there for sure. But if you're not doing the basics, getting your right foot down in the middle, keeping your weight over the right foot in the middle of the circle, why do you need to worry about where your left toe is pointing?
Yeah.
I
think it's interesting because it's something that I think we did a really good job with our product in 30 days to learn to spin in 30 days course, which you essentially designed. And then, leading into our elite level throws, it's basically what you did here with Javelin, who's a sophomore in high school, and he's one of those kids that came in. He had never really spun before. He's just a pretty good, talented athlete. And he's
never
bigger.
spun before.
So now he's been spinning for three or four months. Yeah. And he's throwing 57.6. And I think that what you just outlined is sort of like the bare bones behind our 30 days to learn to spin course that we have at throwsuniversity.com. And here we go with Javelin Williams, he's in 10th grade. He's been spinning for 4 months. And, he does show up 4 or 5 days a week, and he's a good kid to work with and listens really well. He's very coachable, goofy kid, goofball, and he's thrown 155 feet in the discus, and now you've got him to 57.6 as a sophomore. You're further than what Jeff even threw.
Yeah. I mean, Javelin is going to be a stud. Like, you're going to see way more of him. But I think this is one thing I wanted to touch on a couple of the high schoolers that we're going to cover.
Okay.
But something that's unique about Javelin, I think it's one of the reasons for his success, is he's going to watch this. I know he's going to be ecstatic that we put him on.
Throw show,
he asked to get put on, and he asked when the next throw show was going on to see if he'd be put on. And so he's watching the stuff we put out.
Right, so he's learning.
And he's learning. He's interested in the sport. He's interested in what's going on in the throwing world. Like he names off throwers all the time, and I'm like, oh wow, I can't believe you know who that is.
Right.
He knows he's in it. Yeah. And I think that's a big thing that Javelin does really well. That's going to continue to contribute to his success.
Absolutely. So, Javelin Williams, 57.6, and we're only halfway or a little bit more than halfway through the season. So.
Yeah. So here's another monster.
Yeah. Bryce Foster is his name, right?
Yeah.
So he went 71 at States.
71-1. I think this is the exact mark. I looked it up. The exact mark he threw like 3 weeks ago.
Oh wow.
So it's pretty cool.
And he's another kid too. Talking about being in the game, being in the sport, and I think that's what a lot of people have got to think about now, is that getting to that next level is being in the sport and observing. And this is a kid who he had reached out to us. He reached out to Ryan Whiting, talked to everybody about some issues he was having in the circle. There's a kid who's a 65, 66 foot shot putter, goes 71 feet, wins the Texas State title. He's going to play at A&M for football, and looks like he's 35 years old, somebody commented. But that's the whole thing, is it's not even about, his size. I mean, obviously it is to a point, but with him, he's still interested in learning to get better constantly.
Yeah. And I think like Javen's a football player too, and I think that's something that they're carrying over from football, is that, you watch film, you watch professional players, and what they're doing, and, you take that same mindset to throwing.
Absolutely.
So the discus Texas champion, Kevin Grubbs. This throw is, this is his 189 throw. We couldn't find his state championship winning throw, but he threw 207.
Oh wow!
To win Texas State's.
207.
Yeah.
Holy cow!
I believe he's going to Sam Houston next year.
Is he gonna play football or throw?
I think just throw, but I'm not sure.
His left arm in the middle, he's nice and balanced, nice and level.
Yeah, he's long.
Yeah, it moves really well. Right leg could be maybe a hair longer. I don't know though. He's pretty good there. I like his technique there.
Yeah, it looks
solid,
real smooth.
I think that's what's cool too with watching the high schoolers now. Think about Whiting. I remember when I was in college and Whiting was coming up, and he threw 70 feet, and it was like, wow, he's throwing 70 feet. Then Geist came through, and Nick Vina was in between there. Now these guys throwing 210 plus. It's happening every year, 70 to 75 feet. Every single year you're having somebody in there, and it's just crazy to see that consistency. And then you're seeing it even more so on the women's side. Women's side, we're starting to see it's a regular occasion to have 3 to 5 girls over 50 feet in high school.
Yeah.
It's just phenomenal.
Yeah. Including Ioma, Siniru Ioma.
So she's from Council Rock. This is near Pennsylvania. This is near us, about an hour away. and she trains with Barry Swanson. So was she spinning indoors?
Yeah, she
Okay.
was. Yep. Yeah, she got second at
Oh wait, so she beat
indoor nationals.
She beat. Oh no, Karen Shump's record is in jeopardy. He's saying, okay. That's what I was saying. Karen Shump went to Oklahoma, threw with Blue Trick when he was still coaching there. She was a beast. That's a nice throw.
Yeah, she really
Rotates her
hammers
right.
that finish too.
Right side comes through really well. And she's thrown a couple throws you meet. So we've had with her, Ashlyn, Sarah, Maria. How many girls have have been at our meets, have thrown 50 plus feet?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you know, Barry's been around for a while, does a great job with her. So congrats to Barry and Sinaru, just dropping bombs. She's going to Princeton next year, I believe. Polish female javelin thrower ripping a monster 71-meter throw.
Number 3 all time.
71.40.
This is a bomb.
Yo. So that's a 4-meter PR. So what do you think? I follow the javelin, but I don't know it as well, clearly. I think she's a little blown away. Do you think that's just from maybe lack of competition over the last year? Is it wind? Is it a good setup, a good meet setup? What is it that gives somebody a 4-meter PR? Or is it just everything, thousands and thousands and thousands of reps, thousands and thousands of time, of minutes in the weight room, everything combined for that perfect scenario?
Yeah.
Actually, it doesn't even look that windy.
I mean, I think it's similar to, I think it's the same thing for javelin as it would be for the other events. You think like Javelin, he was throwing consistently every meet 52 feet, 51, 52 feet, then he throws 57. And we're going to get to Tamand and his big throw.
Yeah, similar.
And
They're
it's
just
a similar
constantly
thing. It's
pegging,
constant, then bam.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think some of it is just I think there can be those extraneous factors that are wind, competition.
To a point,
height.
but I don't know.
But I think lots of times in competition you just have that aha moment.
Mm-hmm.
It all just feels right. It all just clicks, and internally you just kind of figure it out.
I forget if this was a conversation I had with Tamand regarding this type of PR, or if it was on the throw show last time, or both. Because my memory's bad. But Dr. B used to say, he's like, dude, you wouldn't say dude, but you have these moments where you're just constantly throwing, and then you get into that competition speed, and all of a sudden you hit something to that next level, and it's like making this big step. And now your nervous system and your body is more heightened and more aware of how to coordinate at that speed. And what happens is your body learns that speed, and now it has a different comprehension of what it takes.
Yeah.
And so now your body's more aware of it, so it's easier to hold that level of intensity, and it's easier to achieve that level of intensity because now you've done it. And it might be that's the same thing here. It's like all of a sudden, all that stuff adds up, the thousands and thousands and thousands of throws and hours add up to something big, and then now she might go to the Olympics and throw 70 plus meters and medal,
Right.
Just because her body's learned that. Polish record.
Yeah, that's big.
That's huge.
We got some more javelin. So this is Vetter going 91 meters again.
It's been held around Europe, around the world. What can this great German do? First attempt. Oh, that is huge.
That's enormous, man.
That is
I do feel like
massive.
javelin
That
is one of those
over
sports
90
that you
meters.
don't see the
Just short
same
of
consistency as you do in
championship
the other events.
I
And
agree.
I think that's why this is so impressive, because Vetter's doing it, going over 90 meters
That's about
All the
90
time.
all the
meters.
time.
Just remember, through 92.70 in Laria 3 years ago.
He's like sort of, it's only 90. Oh, man. I think it's harder to be consistent with them as well because of the toll that the sport takes on them.
Yeah.
You know, they're not getting into as many. It's easy to get into comps all the time when you're throwing shot and disc, and even do a point hammer. But javelin, it's just so difficult.
You know, I also think because the training volume isn't as high either in like actually throwing. So because it takes such a high toll, you know, you can only do full competition throws, you know, once, maybe twice a week.
Right.
You know, and I think most guys only do it part-time through the season.
Right.
So whereas, you know, shot putters are taking
every day
full
almost.
shot putters,
So this is
full
91.
throws 30 plus times a day.
Games. Really, he's been throwing such fantastic distances now. How far is that going? Oh, again, it's
That's deep.
over 90 meters once again. Not quite as far though as his first attempt. But you have to say, there's more to come.
Yeah, that's big.
He could just retire now and he'd be almost assured of getting.
I mean, throwing 90 meters twice is just absolutely ridiculous. So, congrats to Vetter. The javelin year is going to be crazy with how many guys have thrown over 90 meters. The women's javelin is going to be really interesting because there's not a huge, really big player. It's the same thing with the men's, where it's like there's a couple different players around that 70-meter mark that could come out and challenge, you know, who's going to end up taking the Olympic gold, really. Cord Ferguson, you know, so he just got off that. He just had that big throw, 63 meters in at Mount Sac this past weekend. Took a big win. The thing is with that win is that he beat a lot of big name guys. You know, Sam was there, Alex was there, Mason was there, Reggie was there, Brian Williams was there.
And everyone from the U.S.
Yeah, everybody's there, and Cord ended up taking home the W. And I think that's, you know, he hasn't hit the standard yet, but you can't sleep on a guy like this. He's so wired and he's so consistent. He's moving well.
You know, I haven't seen many of his throws. Does he typically non-reverse?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I like that. I mean, he just hammers it.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think in 2019, he might have reversed. Might have been like back and forth a little. He's just, dude, I remember he's taller. He's not huge. He's not like Tim, or he's 6'9", but he's bigger. And it's just like everything about him is, his hands were big. He's one of those guys too, he like moves so slowly that like, it's like a cat. Like cats you see walking around, they're just sort of like all over the place, and then all of a sudden they're like, you know, and that's what he reminds me of. He's just like so laid back and passive, and then when it's time to compete, it's like, all right.
That's a good analogy. I've never heard that one before for throwers, but I like it.
Don't steal it. Oh, we should put the volume on for this.
Yeah.
This is one of those throws I think this is a pretty proud like coaching moment.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it's sweet.
I've seen this so many times.
Yeah. I think what's crazy about that throw, one, is that it was like 45 degrees and cold. But earlier in the week he had so this is the one cool part too, is that so he had a 2065. He still could sit into that left a little more. That's where, like we were talking about off camera before the video, like he could actually rotate around his left on that finish more.
Yeah. I think he just felt that. Like he just felt it, and it's like it's hard when you catch a shot and you feel it.
Yeah.
To like not just let it go out early.
I think you know, it's interesting because if you go back on the Instagram channel on Throws U's Instagram, you can actually see. I analyzed, you know, a day or two before this. He had a 2065 with a 15 in training, and I said on it, I believe he could hit this in comp. Now, in the comp, he had a 1975 and it wasn't great. 1985 wasn't great. It was like 2021 was his PR down the right sector, and he almost never throws down the right sector. 2035, a little bit down that right sector. He had another 19 deep, like 1990, I think, or maybe he'd even fouled it, but it was still near the 20-meter mark. And then this throw. So he had 3 throws over 20. And I think what's interesting was how, going back to when we're talking about the Polish javelin thrower, it's one of those experiences where she might have been leading up to it knowing she was going to go off. Mm-hmm. And I think that was the whole thing with Taman here. And now it's just taken his training to that next level. One thing he said to me, he's like, I'm still going to be the 1990 Taman. I'm clawing away because 2087 is a bomb. It's 68 feet. But at trials, he's got to go 21. You know, and if he wants to hang with the big guys, like he's got to go 21 meters. So that's where it's cool though, because this is a kid who essentially didn't really do much in college. You know, he's a second team All-American once or twice. Yeah. Never made the indoor NCAA national championships. Never made indoor NCAAs. Nobody had any idea who he is. Nobody cares about him. Everybody sort of counted him out. He got COVID. He's dealt with the COVID year and moved 1,600 miles away from home to keep training, and now here he is, 2087.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I mean, it's cool that he can get this, like, you know, that aha moment, like this big mark at, you know, a home meet.
Yeah.
But then, like, you know, I think it'll just make that transition that much easier to when he has to throw this to make finals, you know, in a big competition. And I think it'll just make that transition a little bit easier. But I think it'll be cool to see, just where he goes from here.
And he's going to go to Ironwood in 2 weeks, I think that is. So that should be a good step.
Yeah. Well done, Dane. That's a big mark. And Taman.
Yeah. So Mike Sargent posting Tunde, right?
21.68.
Yeah, this throw I like a lot. Like I like his left leg when it grounds at the front. So Coach Sargent's done a great job. Tunde's an absolute animal.
He works that finish really well.
Really well,
he goes out on that really well.
If you see like that,
his left foot doesn't pop off right away.
Yep, he holds everything down. I really like how well he transitions around the left. That left leg gets deep. He keeps rotating that right shoulder.
It's just such a nice looking throw, honestly. Like, it just, you can feel it, you know.
Yeah.
You can watch it and you can just feel it.
I like his left arm in the middle too. It sort of reminds me of Chuck a little bit. He just holds it for like a very split second, and then everything just keeps moving. It's like how you were describing in the beginning of the show, like that left goes behind the right. He holds that left shoulder, the left leg comes around and behind that right, and it's just game over. Yeah. Congrats, that big freaking toss.
Yeah, that's massive.
And again, that's what, a 1.5 PR. Or at least 13-inch PR.
That's the first time over 70 feet. So
yeah.
That's massive.
So Sarah Minton went 1870. She also came off of Mount Sac where she threw, I think, 1865. So she's on a tear as well. Just having a really good year. She's down in Chula Vista for this one. I wonder where she's training.
I think she's slowly creeping up, but I think she's going to be one that really I think she's one that's going to be, these are consistent throws, and she's going to have a breakout.
She had that same, actually at the meet here 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I think it was 2018. That whole year she was throwing high 17, mid 17, mid 17, low 17, mid 17. But I remember Richard reaching out to me, hey, can Sarah come down? She's been having a really good practice. We want to see if she can push out something big. I think she went 1852. It was like a 70, 80 centimeter PR out of nowhere. But then she held that, and now she's been holding it for 2 years at that 1850 to 19 meter area. And this is what we talked about in Oregon, the Oregon meet that Rachel was at. Dude, people are saying she's been having throws out like 19 deep in warm-ups. So,
I mean, back, when was that, 2008, 19?
18. Here.
At our meet, 18?
Yeah, that's
I mean, she had some big throws.
She had huge throws,
very big fouls.
She had a foul that was like 19 plus.
Yeah.
And so that's the whole
thing.
That's when
her PR was in the 17s.
Yeah, so that's where she might, what you're saying is very likely going to happen. Yeah. I think she's a dark horse for a medal at the Olympics.
Absolutely.
There's Darrell going 22-32.
Huge.
Yeah, I think he had 3 throws over.
That finish.
I think he had 3 throws over 22. He looks good, man. He looks really good.
I'm so happy to see this throw. Like I feel like he's just been clawing at those top 3 dogs, like top 4, Darrell too. But I think he's gonna I think he's gonna break it up.
I like, if you watch everybody in the back of this video, it's like they're all watching it, and then it's just like, oh, everybody turns their head. Boom. Oh, there it is. I think that's the cool thing too with Darrell is like when you watch him throw, you just know when he hits it, it's over. Like it's just, dude. Talk about Sarah Minton. I think everybody discounts him. No one's like, very, very likely. I think everybody's counting him, Crouser, and Kovacs for the team. There's a couple guys that could come up and snipe a position here or there. But that throw, 22-34, or 22-30, 34. Yo, you come out and he's peaking.
Yeah.
Who knows where that throw is? And especially him. Remember 2016 at the trials, he was on fire, and you knew you could just feel the momentum was swinging towards him. I said this to Taman after the comp. I said, there was Darrell, it was Kovacs in 12. You could feel the momentum swinging in his favor. In 16, you could feel the momentum swinging towards Darrell and making that team. And, every year, last year it was Chubby Diamonds. You could feel it with Ponzio. You could just feel the momentum swinging. And, Darrell's a mainstay up there, but when you can feel that with an athlete, it's almost like what we were just talking about with Sarah. I think you can feel Sarah's got a big one coming. And it's cool now, once, someone as good as Darrell, that's 20 centimeters under his PB.
Yeah.
He might end up going 2270, 2290. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, that's big time.
That's huge. Then we got Crouser coming out 2269 in the rain. That's a good toss.
I really like this throw.
Yeah, maybe slightly off balance on the finish too. That's what else is nuts. Look at that series. Look at this series. It's just like a video game. 2242, 2253, 2237, 2189. 2189 is a bomb, and we all think it's a joke now, and it's a bomb.
I think that's something like you see these marks at this point in the season, like when has this ever happened? When there's we got 3 guys from the U.S. over 22, in
2 guys at 2270 basically, and then a third at 2230, like it's a joke. And 2189 is his worst throw of the series. Yeah, that's nice. That's really nice. And so he had just said too on Instagram, I think it was 118 comp throws over 22 meters, which is just phenomenal. I think he's 27? I think he's a year older than Sammy, so he might be 28.
I think he's my age, so 28.
Okay, so he's 28, and it's like, what's going to happen for the next 4 or 5 years?
Yeah.
And I think that's just what's crazy is it's in the rain. I know it's at his home circle, but still, it's 23 meters is. It's probably not even warm. Think about this: 85 degrees in Southern California. What's that throw?
Right.
I think that's the whole thing. And how can So let's take this to tie the whole podcast together. How do you take Crouser, and you're a new shot putter, and you want to be the next Ryan Crouser, but you're only 13 years old? What do you take from this? Is it as simple as what you said in the beginning?
I mean, Crouser is a great example because look what he was doing when he was 13 years old.
Yeah.
He was throwing constantly.
Yep.
And I think
he was gliding though.
I think that's also a thing that like it doesn't, he was still out there. He was still doing it. Like,
yep.
And you can take a lot from a glide into a spin.
Clearly. I think it's as easy as what we talked about, even in the course with the learn to spin in 30 days. But even with what you mentioned, putting the X's in the circle, you put the X's in the back, you put an X right where his right foot comes down, you put an X where his left foot comes down, and you hit those positions 1,000 times over. You keep hitting those positions, and then in 1,000 throws, you're going to feel what that's supposed to be.
Yeah. Just each throw, it's going to get more and more comfortable.
Yep.
It's just like...
We're not promising that's going to result in that series, though.
No,
'Cause you-
it takes something pretty special.
You better be hang snatching 150 plus
Yeah, right.
and front squatting 210 for 5 kilos. All right, so thanks for tuning in to another episode of The Throw Show. If you want to learn how to spin in 30 days, you can click on the link down below, head over to throwsuniversity.com and pick up that course that we put together so you can bomb some big throws with the spin. If you want more content around throws-based training, hashtag Throw Show, keep dropping some big bombs, and we'll see you next week. Peace.